There are few, maybe no other mediums that speak to the heart as directly as poetry does.
What I like about poetry is that it's a way of expression that's so different from other forms of communication. You can put in a way that you can express your feelings and all of your inner thoughts.
As far as now goes, it's a lost art, and when you do read poetry or write poetry or talk about it, it's pretty much a whole different world in comparison to what we live in now.
Never mind that the big publishers in America today have dissed poetry because it doesn't contribute enough to the bottom line. Never mind that poetry in this country has been turned over to small groups of poets who often speak in secret code, or to academics who read their poems to college students, pressed into service, of course. Because outside this closed system we have in America today, people continue to value poetry. They understand a poem's power to express in a few words the feelings that matter most to us.
I first really got involved with poetry in middle school, I think, and then used it a lot through high school, through a lot of classes and projects and stuff, and really just found that it was a really positive and effective way of sharing what I was feeling and presenting my thoughts with the class.
The ability to just have free landscape and not confined to a X's and O's type of mathematical equation, but instead just the ability to write and think of anything that you possibly can imagine.
Have fun with it, and just like if people tell you to do something for poetry, don't take their advice, just do what you feel like is right.
The Journey by Mary Oliver. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. Though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop, you knew what you had to do. Though the wind pried with its stiff fingers and the very foundation, though your melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save.
True voice of poetry, I think says something like, brothers and sisters of mine, this is what has mattered to me. This is what I cared about, what has moved me.
I think poetry is just so representative of a culture's feelings and emotions in a certain time frame, and I think reading poetry helps other people really get an insight of how you're feeling, not only the words you're using, but the emotions behind the words.
You're sharing this piece of poetry that is more than just a writing assignment, but it's part of you, it's part of your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, and you're opening yourself up to that, that was probably the toughest part of it, was opening up and knowing that you could be judged for what you're feeling, what you think, and knowing that everybody else is in the same place, and because of that, you have a understanding and appreciation for the effort.
Did you see the language savers, the scholars and story keepers and tellers, poets, the Katahdin runners and paddlers, ash and birch workers, sculptors, carvers, lacers, etchers and beaters, all the creators and their neighbors, friends, and all Earth's histories and futures, all partners for good